Hey guys, so let's talk the Royal Rumble and what we saw last night. We learned a couple of different things that could lead us into some interesting things going into WrestleMania. First of all, let's start with the first match that we saw, which is kind of where things started from, if you will. Bobby Lashley ends up as our new WWE champion, but it was not a clean finish at all. Several different things transpired here to cause this. So Brock Lesnar should have had the win, but the ref was down, so he could not get to that 3 count. This allowed enough time for Roman Reigns to come on out and hit Brock Lesnar. So when Bobby Lashley came to, he was able to very easily cover Brock, and by that time the ref is back. This sets up things later in the night. So while we're discussing the men and their championships, let's move on to Roman's match. Okay? So, the main reason that Roman Reigns was upset was, of course, because Paul Heyman, even though Roman fired him, he's still a little bothered, I think, by the fact that he went and joined back up with Brock Lesnar. So there's that. Other than that, I don't know that there's that much of a beef between those two. So regardless of that, so Roman ends up winning his match, or at least technically retaining his title, if you will. He did lose via disqualification, and a lot of that was because of the mind games by Seth Rollins. So let's delve into that, shall we? First, Seth comes down with the Shield theme. This again gets into Roman's head. From what we understand from Friday night, we know that this is something that still bothers Roman, that Seth turned on them and hit both him and Dean with the chair, breaking up the Shield. So for Seth to come down, not only with the Shield entrance music, but through the crowd with the Shield's entrance and in his ring gear from the Shield, that played into those mind games. And then there was the power bomb through the table that did not help. All of this caused Roman to get so worked up that he just got himself disqualified. He's still upset about this. And then we have Brock Lesnar, who loses his title because of Roman Reigns. Now, continuing into the night where we have the Men's Royal Rumble, and since Brock no longer is the champion, he enters the Rumble. Now, I suspected that this might happen with one of the championships. Wasn't really sure which one. So, Brock is now the champion, but the interesting question now comes, who does he face? Because he's clearly going to be upset that Roman cost him his championship. But is he more upset about the fact that Bobby's now carrying the championship that he had? So I think as this week continues on, we'll learn more about where his head is at as far as which championship he's considering going for. So that's an interesting part there. We then move on to the women. Now, the not too interesting part is that Becky Lynch, of course, retained her title. What this means is that Becky is still the champion. Now, we move on to the Women's Rumble, and that Charlotte did not win the Rumble. What this means is that Charlotte does not get to choose her opponent for WrestleMania, which is what she wanted. We move forward to who did win, and that is Ronda Rousey. This gets interesting because Ronda has issues with both Charlotte and Becky. So, who does she end up going with? Now, Charlotte was the last one that was left in the ring and who Ronda had to eliminate in order to win. Now, there was also the very brutal match at Survivor Series. There's also just that animosity of all three of them in the ring in that first WrestleMania match where the women main evented, right? So you have that animosity there that Ronda's clearly going to have for Charlotte. But do not forget that Ronda was the one that supposedly got pinned during that WrestleMania match by Becky Lynch. So there's going to be that animosity there with Becky holding the title that Ronda probably still feels like should technically be hers. A lot of people question whether or not Ronda's shoulders were really down in that match and whether Becky should have been declared the winner. But there's also the question that, yes, Ronda's shoulders may have been up, but were they supposed to be? And so did the ref call the match when he was technically supposed to, according to Vince, or did he follow what was actually going on in the ring? Which is what most people watching the show are going to go by, right? So, we're going to have to wait to see what plays out there. Because we really don't know. Several different things could end up happening there. We could see Ronda take on Becky in a one-on-one match. We could see her pick on Charlotte in a one-on-one match. Or, and this is one that I don't necessarily care for as much, we could get another triple threat match. That could be the route they go. I don't think they will, but it is a potential that we have to look at. That is really I think, the only major things that came out of this, except we did see that confrontation still between Naomi and Sonya Deville. Naomi eliminating Sonya, and then Sonya pulling Naomi off of the ring apron. Sonya shouldn't have even still been at ringside, but she was. So clearly what they're telling us there is that feud is not over. So we may end up getting a Sonya Deville versus Naomi match at WrestleMania. I would be okay with this. The other thing that we continued through with this was that animosity between Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley. The look that Rhea gave Nikki when she was coming out was pretty nasty, and Rhea didn't look too thrilled with how Nikki treated Molly Holly when Molly Holly came out. So there are those things that we learned from the Royal Rumble. We don't know for certain the directions for all this. Now, if Brock does not go with Roman Reigns, we could still get another Seth and Rollins. Here's the other thing we could potentially get. Conceivably, we could get a Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar triple threat at WrestleMania. That is a real possibility here. So let's not forget that. So we will talk to you again tomorrow or Tuesday, whichever. I'm not sure if I'll get this out right away tomorrow night, but that was my review for the Royal Rumble.